I'm going to be looking at and links and details. Um, I'm going to send Arthur maybe like a spreadsheet of all the resources and the links so you don't have to worry about it during the presentation in case you want to get a little bit more information about some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. My presentation. Okay. So again, name is Allan Vinluan, Esri, and welcome to today's presentation. In today's presentation, I'm going to be just 4 things in our agenda, like what's new in ArcGIS Online. By no means, this is not going to be an exhaustive list of every single update to all the applications in ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Online itself. I just wanted to highlight a few new functions and features that the development team have been very excited about. And I think if you check out like any of the their blogs, these are kind of like the ones that they have at the very top. Usually these are the ones that are the most popular based on user feedback or enhancement requests that have been received by the product team. And finally, they have been implemented. And then we're going to jump to retiring applications. There's a few, like Arthur mentioned, that we want you to be well aware of so that we can plan ahead for. And we're going to look at a few tools for migration strategies and tips, and then we'll open it up to questions at the very end. So for right now, I am going to go ahead and jump on over to ArcGIS Online. So I'm working with multiple windows. Okay, so the first thing we're going to jump into is the new map viewer updates. The first thing that I wanted to highlight here is a new label function. So all I'm doing here is have the estate parcel data. And if I zoom in, all of a sudden you're going to notice there, quite messy, right? The labels are kind of overlapping, and this you don't formerly in the old version of ArcGIS Online, the map viewer, there wasn't a lot of flexibility on this. You kind of had to like zoom in and make sure it's there. But if you are at a scale where you kind of need to display all of your labels and there's a lot of conflict, you're kind of stuck with what looks something like this. So a new feature that has been introduced is under labels. And then under label style, you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see a new label, enable deconfliction. So if I enable this, notice how the labels kind of get cleaned up a little bit. The labels aren't being removed because, obviously you don't want to remove any labels because if I zoom in, they're still there. This is just a strict function for when you're at a scale and you still need to show a lot of the labels. So again, toggle on and off. Too messy, but when you turn it on, it's a little bit cleaner. So it's just like it seems very like a small thing, but it's actually a really big deal, especially if you have a project that really requires clean labeling. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next feature of the map viewer, which is under the share map. So let's say we created this map and we want to share this to a colleague, but we don't either you don't have the time or you don't have the need to create like another application to display this current map that you have. So you just say, I just want to show what I have in this map just as quickly as possible. If you click on share map, create custom link, this is going to open up a new window that allows you to view the current map that you currently have. Let's zoom in a little bit. What this does is it's going to create kind of like a snapshot of this web map as is. So you can enable your map legend, map summary, bookmarks. So you can see kind of like your typical functions of a web map. However, you're just scooping up this web map as is without using an application. And then you are copying the link And then when you share this link, you are able to share this particular web map view to your coworker. But keep in mind, this web map, the state data is publicly available, right? But the web map that I created in ArcGIS Online is not yet shared. So if you update the permission, be mindful of how you have it shared. If you share it with everyone, the web map and an associated data, then anybody can see that link at this quick snapshot of a web map that you created. If I hit everyone, if I hit save, that warning is removed. And if I copy this link again, I can share this with everybody and everyone's going to see this quick web map that I created. So from there, let's move on to Experience Builder. The new feature that the Experience Builder team that they have been highlighting is one of the new widgets is called a login widget. Let's check it out. I'm gonna drag it in there. The neat thing about this widget is it allows you to create a Experience Builder application that accommodates either it's a user that does not have credentials for ArcGIS Online and also somebody that may have access to ArcGIS Online with credentials. So say you create an experience builder that's like publicly facing. Anybody can access it, right? Okay, great. But there's elements or pages within that experience builder application that you want your only your colleagues or your keeping it internally with your internal organization. So by creating it all within the sign in or sign out button, you have a little bit more flexibility on who you can share this experience builder application to. And then we're going to move on to another new feature to within Experience Builder. Now, I think this one might be a future brown bag topic in itself, but you guys see this little button in the very bottom right, A11Y. This is for accessibility. Again, there's so much features that are being introduced to accommodate the accessibility and in order to kind of adhere to like the new standards that are coming out to next year. Again, we'll talk to Arthur. We're working on a future brown bag for this. But if I click on this little blue button down here, it opens up additional options where one of them is enable accessibility settings for each of the widget. So wait, what is that? So the menu on the right was the login widget that I had, right? If I turn this on, notice this accessibility settings that pops up, and you might be wondering, like, wait, what is that for? If you look at the info, describe this widget for screen readers. Now, when they say screen readers, that's one of those artificial voice readers that are navigating through every single elements of the web page. And so if you have somebody that's visually impaired, you can type in something like this is text for a screen reader. At first I was confused about it. I was like, wait, what do you mean a screen reader? Like I thought an impairment would be a screen reader. What would be the point of typing this in? But it's the actual uh, tool that you use to read the text, and so that the unimpaired individual will be able to hear it. So again, that's that little blue button on the bottom right. It's toggle on and off. As you can see, if I open up other widgets as well, you just turn it on and off. It's there. All right, let's go on over to ArcGIS StoryMaps. Three things I wanted to highlight here. First off, if you're we're going to be talking about like the retirement of StoryMaps later in this presentation, but right now I just wanted to quickly show some of the new things in StoryMaps. One of them is a new feature called ArcGIS StoryMaps Frames, currently in beta. But what the development team, they've been kind of wondering what is the next evolution of story maps, because when we create story maps, usually it's all in a website or a page, right? Usually in a desktop experience. Um, Frames has mobile phones in mind. So when you create a frame, this is something that is designed for people that are looking at a story, but in a mobile format. So if we click on one, it's because a quick example, kind of reminds me of like if you're like on social media, like kind of like stories or like those quick frames, but it is a way for you to design a web page or a story, but specifically focus on mobile devices in mind. Now, this is not meant to replace the full story map. This is meant to kind of complement your full story maps, because you can create like a link to it, which will bring you to your full story map. But again, this is kind of something that we're currently in beta. They're testing on mobile devices as well. Let's go back. Now, the other thing that I wanted to highlight here is you see this little shield button next to the create button. It's often missed, but this tool allows you to scan your entire story map deployment to see if there's anything broken or if there's missing links or images that needs anything that your currently deployed story maps. If you click on this button, this item checker. Oh, looks like I didn't have any issues on any of my currently deployed story maps. But if you have story maps that may be having broken links, missing images, this is a good way to kind of get like a quick snapshot of everything that's currently deployed. And lastly, to open this one up, Story Maps now supports 360-degree images. So if you have one of those fancy cameras that does the 360-degree cameras, the pictures, just keep in mind the aspect ratio that is required. It has to be one of those equal rectangular ones, and it has to be either in a JPEG format, PNG, and has to be under 25 megabytes. So let's take a look at one. File, where is it at? All right, I'm gonna click add. See, okay. So as you can see here, it does the typical scrolling experience of a 360-degree image. You can move around with the basic arrows. You can left align, right align if you want the page to be a little bit bigger, and then to add a little bit more text and content to that. This was actually in compliments of our very own Todd Kingman. There he is. Thank you, Todd. Todd took this photo on top of the Pu'ukonahuanui mountain using a 360-degree camera. So as you can imagine, if you really want to highlight like a really cool picture like Todd's picture here, you can go crazy with it. You can make it as big as you want, or if you really want, really highlight it in like as a taking up your whole page. So again, 360-degree images are now supported, but just keep in mind that the aspect ratio has to be perfect, because I think when I was playing around with this, I was like, oh, what kind of camera do I need? Like I tried doing one of those panorama shots on my phone, but I couldn't capture the correct aspect ratio, so it wasn't supported. So keep that in mind. I know that sometimes these kinds of images, when I was looking for them, they were a little bit difficult to find examples. So I wanted to kind of quickly throw this link in under Wiki, where there's examples of 360-degree images that you can use if you don't have one yourself. And again, I'm gonna throw in this link into that page that I'll provide Arthur later. So if you wanted to test it out, play around with it, there's some really cool images here as well. All right, so we're going to move on over to instant apps. So one of the newest updates to instant apps is their attachment viewer. Let's take a look at it. If you actually click on this sample map right here, it'll open up this page where you have what we call an attachment viewer. So it's a pretty basic application. You just they updated it so that the way that it interacts, you're just zooming in. If you have no real need for attributes, or if you're not really doing anything heavy, if you really strictly just want to see photos, this is a good instant application for that. As you can see, if I'm zooming in, zooming out, the photos also update with it based on like what I'm looking at as well. But the biggest update to instant app for this instant app has been around for quite some time. But the cool new update that they have is that they actually optimize this for mobile applications. So let me see if I can get this to work. So if I did this correctly, you should be seeing the web page that we were just looking at in a mobile view. So this is what it would look like if you're looking at it in an iPhone. Just change it to maybe a Galaxy. As you can see, it's the same experience, but it's just a little bit condensed on your on a mobile device or on a phone. So again, that's a new function of Instant App that they were very excited about. This one is a big one itself too. So we jump from Instant App. Now we're over at ArcGIS Field Maps. I know there's a lot of folks that use ArcGIS Field Maps, specifically the Field Maps Designer, which is the web application or the desktop application that is in partner with the mobile application of the Field Maps. So to those that are not familiar, ArcGIS Field Maps is a mobile device, but it has like the Field Maps Designer component to it where you can create your map to be consumed out in the field. The biggest update to Field Maps as of late is a feature called tasks. Some of you may have heard about this in other presentations or at the user conference, but tasks is a replacement for, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about it a little bit later, workforce for ArcGIS. So I don't know if there's any workforce for ArcGIS users out there, but it's being deprecated and it's being retired so that the tasks function in ArcGIS Field Maps is kind of its replacement. So this one's different because you know how we usually have an app that gets replaced by another one. Experience Builder got replaces Web App Builder. Um, uh, the other applications, instant apps that replaces is configurable apps. This replacement, it's a little bit misleading because Workforce as an individual application is going away, but all of its features in Workforce are going to be integrated as a function in ArcGIS Field Maps. There's a lot of details that we can talk about this. And again, this might be another topic for Brown Bag, but I think this is something that we can probably talk to you guys. If there's anybody that's using Workforce and wants to explore Field Maps tasks, this is something that we can talk to you guys about one-on-one. But basically, what happens here is you have a layer that you enable for tasks, and then within the Field Maps applications, that's when you're going to see the function of what Workforce was designed for, which is getting assigned tasks that you need to do. And then you get those pop-ups in the application of Field Maps. Why did we do this? The most common feedback we received about Workforce was it required a person to have to log in the Workforce, but then when they click on accepting a project, oftentimes it required them to go to another applications. And when you're working with field folks, they don't have the time for something like that, right? They just want to get stuff done and they don't want to have to use multiple applications. So we're gonna talk about that one as well a little bit later. Let's see. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my slides. Hopefully this is helpful so far. Okay, so all right. All right. So from there, we're going to move on to the next page. Which basically just quick summary of some of the new functions in ArcGIS Online that we highlighted. Again, like I mentioned earlier, there's way more updates to these individual applications in ArcGIS Online itself. I just wanted to highlight a few that I thought would be pretty helpful for everybody. So let's move on to our next topic. Exciting, retiring applications. I just wanted to point out real quick that retiring and deprecated are two different terminologies. Retiring means that the product or service is no longer available for use, while deprecated, it means that it's still available, but it is considered obsolete and no longer being enhanced with a future retirement date set. So again, you're going to see retirement and deprecated. I hope I just wanted to clarify what those two meant. And most of us are already familiar, but the JavaScript 3 to 4 migration as a background, that was kind of like the backbone of a lot of our applications being moved on over because of this, the JavaScript platform, which most of the applications were built, but now has been migrated over to 4. So in order to kind of adhere to this platform, that's why a lot of these applications are being retired. Basically, that's it's going to be faster, more secured, and more stable. All right, so let's talk about Web App Builder. So a lot of information here, but the most important thing here is kind of like what I just mentioned. Why are we retiring it? It went from JavaScript 3 and it went to JavaScript 4. But the dates that I want everybody to pay attention to are the ones in yellow. So ArcGIS Web App Builder in ArcGIS Online will be retired second quarter of 2027. And then we're doing this in phases. So next year, quarter one, I believe it's at the end of February, creating a new web app builder application is no longer going to be possible. But and in 1 year from there, in quarter two, 2027, existing web app builder apps will be retired and no longer function. So please keep in mind, if you have any of these applications that are still deployed or if it's still being consumed by the public, you have about a little over a year before they suddenly disappear and get deprecated. Same thing, ArcGIS story maps. Now the retirement, this one's a little bit more urgent because the retirement for the Esri story maps. Now, I just wanted to quickly clarify, ArcGIS story maps is not going anywhere. This is the classic templates of story maps that have been around for quite some time that are being retired. So the retirement date for classic story maps will be online in quarter one 2026. That's a and if you have any ArcGIS Enterprise users out there, that retirement date was for ArcGIS Enterprise 11. So after this retirement, the classic Esri store map templates will no longer be able, they're no longer going to be available. And then those stories will not be viewable at their previous URLs. So we would definitely recommend migrating on over to ArcGIS Story Maps, which is aka the new version. Again, I'm kind of repeating the information here because I wanted to highlight that quarter one 2026 that these existing story maps are no longer going to work when the update for quarter 21 2026. So in about what is it, November, in about 2 to 3 months, that these apps are no longer going to work. And what I mean by not working, you're not going to be able to view. There's no more edit. You can't create content anymore. And existing stories will not work. This isn't one of those situations where, oh yeah, well, we can just kind of leave it alone. It still kind of works. It's going to completely stop working. So just a heads up. If there's anything urgent or if there's an important story map out there, reach out to me, your account team, Todd and myself will be glad to kind of review some of your options that you have, and how we can assist and maybe match up which story map has been a replacement for these older templates. And just a background of that is, if you really think about it, some of these templates were created all the way back to like 2012. Yeah, some of them are newer than others, but if you think about like how old 2012 is, some of this technology is definitely outdated. So you want to make sure you are on the latest and the greatest as well. Another big one. So those that are using the Map Viewer Classic. So if you're not familiar, when you log into your ArcGIS Online and then you click on Maps, you're automatically brought into the Map Viewer, right? But as many of you, including myself, I learned a lot of ArcGIS Online in the classic Map Viewer. So this one kind of holds a special place in my heart because it was very basic, but it's very clean, and it's more. I think some of the challenges that makes it difficult to go to the new Map Viewer is kind of just the general familiarity, kind of like similar to the other apps because you're just very familiar. You log in ArcGIS Online, go to Map Viewer, do your GIS work, and you kind of know where everything is because that's how I was trained in school. That's how I used it initially in my earlier career in GIS. But then having to suddenly move over to this new Map Viewer, um, similar to the transition from like ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro, it was a little bit difficult at first, but over time you start to learn some of the key advantages that it has over the old version. So the date to keep in mind for this one is as of Q1 2026 update of ArcGIS Online. Similar, this is the same date as those other applications. Map Viewer Classic will no longer be available. And as for the folks that are on ArcGIS Enterprise, 11.5 is going to be the last version to include the Map Viewer Classic. I'm not sure if there's any configurable apps users out there, but this has been replaced by ArcGIS Instant Apps. So just keep in mind, I don't know if will resonate with everybody, but just again, the Q1 2026, this is the app update for the configurable apps. I don't know anybody that's still using this, but I just wanted to throw this in there just in case. And then finally, we talked about ArcGIS Workforce as an item that is being deprecated. Remember, deprecation versus retirement. The deprecation notice, it's scheduled for January 15th, 2026. So those that are currently using Workforce right now, no changes whatsoever. It's still supported. But when January 15th, 2026 arrives, it's going to be on the deprecation category. And then the ArcGIS Online Q3 2026 update, that's when we plan on retiring ArcGIS Workforce. So hopefully by then, we are already fully utilizing ArcGIS field maps. Sorry about that. Question? Thought I heard somebody there, but ArcGIS Workforce, again, is we're encouraging everybody to move on over to ArcGIS Field Maps tasks. Again, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but ArcGIS Workforce is a direct deprecation, and all of its features are just being introduced in ArcGIS Field Maps. You can see how, kind of like in this quick little visual, how you are able to assign the tasks from a dispatcher's point of view, and then from somebody that's out in the field, they will get a notification within Field Maps that, hey, can you get this done? And it's taking into account their location, whether, where they're nearby a job that needs to get done, they can pick that job up. A couple other feedback that we received about ArcGIS Workforce is there was not a lot of flexibility as far as customizing the type of task on hand. What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes there's a category that's assigned. Sometimes there's a category that is, yet to be picked up. But okay, well, what kind of status is the assigned? Is it somebody that's working on it? What is the priority. We didn't have that in ArcGIS Workforce. Basically, it was just kind of like set in stone. And users, on top of what I mentioned earlier about users not wanting to jump from application to application, that was the other second feedback that we received about ArcGIS Workforce. And the decision was made to kind of just integrate all of that in ArcGIS Field Maps. Now you're still going to get your everything that's great about ArcGIS Field Maps, but now it's been enhanced with the function of these tasks, which originally came from ArcGIS Workforce. So in case you want to explore this, let us know as well. All right, so migration strategies and tips. We talked about some of the what's new in ArcGIS Online. You saw like the cool new features and why those are only found in the newer versions and the importance of having to migrate over to these new applications as well. But I understand that this might be not an easy task for everybody. You know, everybody's really busy. So I wanted to offer a few tools that hopefully will be helpful and some options about migrating some of the story maps and also the web app builder applications that you still have. The first one is we have a business partner. It's called Giovannic Migrate. So this tool is designed specifically for web app builder, which directly integrates with your ArcGIS account, whether ArcGIS Enterprise or ArcGIS Online. It is a tool that converts web app builder into an experience builder application. We have representatives from this business partner of ours, but it is a pretty, cost effective. I think the trial includes 2 free migrations, and then I think it's $25 per app afterwards. So it's not like gonna be like a one-to-one. That's why they kind of give you like the 2 free migration trials, and it allows you to kind of preview what it's going to look like. Because it's not again, it's not going to be like that a fully. There's a lot of discrepancies between the two different applications, but this one's a good. It's kind of like gives you kind of like that foundational start of what your experience builder application can look like. Obviously, like the best way to really do it is building the new application from the ground up, but who has the time for that, right? So this is an option as well. The second one is set a replacement item. This, you know what, let's take a look at this. This one's better explained because this is unique and very specific that it only supports the classic story maps and ArcGIS configurable apps. Where I have it, I don't know if anybody can see that, but where I have it highlighted there is the replacement item. So this is intended for folks to assist with kind of like the migration. So if you already have an old version and then a new version, if you don't want to like pull the rug out of somebody that's using the older application, this is a way to introduce users into the new application that's being replaced. But upon retirement of the old application, so like when the story maps gets retired, this will function as a direct replacement for the app. Let me see if I can show this one to you guys. This one's kind of important. It's pretty straightforward as well. One second, I'm jumping back onto the sharing. Okay, confirming. I think everybody can see my screen. Again, I wanted to point out that this option is only going to show up in your organization if you have a classic story map or if you have ArcGIS configurable app. If you don't have any of these old applications in your organization, you're not going to see this option. So for me, I have one older Cascade story map. So if I click on the button, the view details, under settings, see this replacement item right here. Again, in any other applications, I think one of the feedback that has been received is they want to see this implemented for every single item in ArcGIS Online because just like an extra tool you can use. But for right now, it's restricted to old classic story maps. So you can select an item as a replacement. Maybe you already created a new story map, updated application. Nice, select. All right. So now that we have a designated application for that one, if we look back at the overview page of this older application, see this pop up right here? This item has a replacement. And if you click on the view replacement, that's going to open up the item that you designated as its replacement. So I think this is a small tool, but I think it's a very powerful tool as well. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my slides. There is another tool that I wanted to highlight as well. And then this one is for your classic story map convert. We call it the classic story map conversion helper. I believe this was developed by our professional services team working directly with our product team. It is an ArcGIS Python notebook that requires notebook privileges. But it can also be downloaded and run as a system configured with ArcGIS API for Python. So I don't know if there's anybody that's our Python users out there. Um, this is an option as well that you can use for your classic story maps. There is a pretty big community following for this. There's feedback, and our development team are closely monitoring the Esri communities page for this tool. That's why recently they actually enhanced it to include, I believe, the cascade, because earlier it would only supported a couple of the templates, but now they added another uh, template as well. The general feedback that we got from this is that it is varying degrees of success depending on the amount of content that you are using. Okay, and then lastly, I think this is my last slide here before we open it up for questions. Regarding story maps, um, one of the questions we get, I didn't put it on the bullet points here, but is story maps archiving. The question that we get is, how do we preserve or save an existing story map so that we can have access for forever? Unfortunately, there's no direct or out of the box tool built within ArcGIS Online to be able to preserve these story maps. So the general recommendations, it is to print to PDF. I know that sounds kind of backwards and not really ideal. And then you're going to end up getting kind of like a static, but they did build a tool and a function within the story map to be able to share and print as a static version. Another one that I've known and I've seen folks do is they record a video and then they narrate it kind of as they're going through their pages in their story map so that they kind of have, while it's not that full interactive experience that you will get from a deployed story map, at least you can walk your users through the actual experience of navigating through your story maps. And then another question we get is like, oh, actually, I forgot to mention earlier, when a story map product deployment gets retired, what happens to all the content that you had in that story map? So all of those content, it's still going to remain in ArcGIS Online. And what content I'm talking about like their pictures, media, anything that you've referenced in that story map of yours. The core template is gone, but everything that you've added in ArcGIS Online to be consumed by that story map is going to remain in ArcGIS Online. So you're not going to lose your photos or anything like that. But the actual application itself is going to disappear. And so this third recommendation about for archiving is we recommend you download your content. So you can use ArcGIS Assistant or the API for Python to download the stories components to transfer for backup. So with that, again, this is just a handful of topics that we wanted to cover. I'd like to go ahead, Arthur, if there's any questions. I haven't been monitoring the chat. I'm kind of my screen share. but maybe I'll stop sharing and then open it up for questions. Let me go ahead and stop sharing.
Thanks, Alan.
Yep.
I've been sort of monitoring the chat. I think that most of the chat questions have been answered, but let me go down here.
Okay. The story map notebook. Maza, I can get you that link.
The question Maza had back on the non-conflicting, I think it was the labels or something. He was asking, is the layer non-conflicting setting, does that also get shared?
It does. I didn't think when I did the example earlier, I didn't save it. I was just kind of referencing the configuration. So yeah.
And Jonathan was asking about the security settings in AI assistance. Where do our queries go?
That one is a great question. I don't know from the top of my head, but we do have a designated team under the ArcGIS Trust website that monitors these kinds of questions. These are very important questions, but it is something that they do monitor. I believe that's under the trust.arcgis.com webpage.
Yeah, Todd put a link to the trust site.
Perfect. Yep. So again, we have a designated team that handles security and security threat type questions that would be better equipped to answer these kinds of questions. But as far as where AI queries questions go, I don't know. We do use these assistant tools kind of like on the back end. As far as where or how that data is being collected, I am not 100% sure, but that was a question that they should know.
What is it? A Gemini or what do they use as a
I am
tool?
not familiar, Maza, with what type of assistant is being used as well. But I can follow up to see what, depending on which assistant tool as well, and under what product. I know that we didn't really talk about like the AI tools here, but maybe that can be a future brown bag topic as well, because there is a lot of upcoming tools that are being close to general release because we have a lot of them currently in beta, but a couple of them are actually in under preview. So the way that the order goes, it goes from beta testing, and then it goes to a preview, and then after being previews, they go to general release. So almost all the products in the ArcGIS Online suite, even the desktop suite, are all receiving some sort of AI tool as well.
So you mentioned about workflows, and I mean I know I mentioned about workforce and then tasks, but I was thinking, do we have workflows and tasks in ArcGIS Online, or is it only in ArcPro?
Sure, it's the task function. That's a feature in the field maps designer. So technically, that's ArcGIS Online. That's not the function of task in ArcGIS Pro. I think that's a completely different tool. The tasks, it's just we're calling it task, but that's just like the workforce project assignment. So I guess if instead of using task, think about it as like the project assignment that we found in ArcGIS workflow.
Ah, okay.
I'm sorry,
So
not
that's
workflow. Workforce. Sorry,
workforce, yeah.
workforce, not workflow.
So
Yep.
okay, so so it means two different things. What happens in workflows is different, completely. The tasks in workflows are not related
Yep.
to. Okay.
Yep. ArcGIS workforce, and I'm sorry if I may have said the wrong thing earlier. Workforce and workflow, different tools.
Yeah, but
Workforce is kind of like
yeah. So
yep.
I guess with workflows, you can assign tasks. So if
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
yeah, you know. All
Similar.
right.
Good question. Thank you, Maza.
How about the APIs? Any change on the APIs? It's this is we use Python a lot, and was wondering. Yeah, okay, and I still have some stuff that's running. One side is running older APIs, just to be sure we don't break anything, and so I'm wondering, okay, how does that affect the changes?
I don't believe there's any major changes, but I'm glancing through the what's new page. I'm not an expert on Python myself, but if there are major updates, I believe that it would be announced through blogs and also in the communities page, and it would be announced internally. But the best way to kind of monitor that is seeing the what's new documentation page. And from what I'm reading online, it looks like there was an update in April for Python 2.4.1, which was back in April this year. And I can give you the link. And if there's any specific functions that you have, you can feel free to email me, but you can kind of double check if there's anything that we can
Yeah.
double, triple check to make sure that nothing breaks.
Yeah, it's hard to be able to get because of other libraries are effectively dynamics. They don't mean many of them, so it's harder to be able to until you try it. But thank you. Yeah, we'll
Sure.
do.
Of course. And Maza, if you have questions, and this goes for everybody that I am not able to address myself, we're more than happy, us being Todd and myself, to bring in a representative from the products team. Again, I mentioned it earlier, but accessibility is such an important topic right now. Our team from the accessibility team, they're very busy right now, but there's a lot of questions that it was and also the sessions in the user conference last year. I'm sorry, this year. That was a very popular topic, so I think that might be something that we might work on to have an accessibility presentation for the state of Hawaii as well.
Thanks, Alan. Wade has a question in the chat. It's great that we're looking into the future and adjusting for mobile screens as additional presentation mediums. However, in government, paper PDF reports are still prevalent. What's the best tool in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Pro to create multi-page layouts with maps, dynamic text, tables, etc.?
Great question. What is the best tool in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Pro to create multiple page layouts? I know in ArcGIS Pro, the layout view can be printed. There's tools that are available in ArcGIS Pro to be able to print them out, depending on what size and what kind of what you're looking for. There's a lot of print functions, but there's also export functions if you're just looking directly at the tables. I think I'm imagining kind of like a workflow where you kind of and also this depends on which application you're using, but I think all of the different applications in their own unique sense all have an export function, like export to a table. Typically what you would do is you would query and you would filter out the data that you need, and then you can export it to like a table. Again, just depending on what the workflow is and which application. But if you have anything specific, I can explore that for you as well. But I know that for sure, ArcGIS Pro and individual applications in ArcGIS Online, they do have those export functions.
I know in Pro, you can do a map series, and we've done that for
The maps.
Yeah.
Well, specifically, it's a map series, so you'd have 40 map series, 40 entries in your map series,
right.
But you would have, let's say, like a 10 or 12 page layout, for each map in the series. And so then it's 12 different layouts that you'd have to print individually. And then the layout can be, obviously dynamic text and a map or a table in it. But then if that dynamic text exceeds where it's at, then it overruns, and it's just one of those. It'd be great if we could just have like one long page to where if it exceeds its bounds, it just pushes the next item lower. And as long as you hit print, it can like just do multi-page that way, as opposed to clearly defining the bounds of each single page with multi-objects and all the dynamic text that has to be perfectly aligned in this way. And I really liked the features on some of the Esri, I'm sorry, the on the online text editing is like so much cleaner than ArcMac Pro. But on ArcMac Pro, the layout features are just seem more robust, except for when you try to have to print more than one page in a layout that is like 5 or 6 pages long. So you would have like 5 pages for each map in a series. So you could get pretty hairy sometimes trying to keep track of 5 different prints for like 50 different maps in a series sort of thing.
Sure. Okay. Makes me wonder if there's like an existing enhancement request for something like that, or if there's a different workflow.
It's pretty prevalent. I've seen a lot of requests for a multi-page layout.
Okay. That's actually, if that is prevalent and there's a lot of chatter on it, and I'm assuming you're talking about the Esri Communities page, I would not be surprised if that is a function that the development team are looking into as well. And it always helps being very active in those feedback pages, because the more interaction that a suggested enhancement gets, or even like an actual official enhancement request through tech support, they combine those two. And the more people, they basically, you upload it, like you I think you give it a thumbs up and it gets a little bit more attention. And then from the tech support point of view, if there's people that call in and then there's cases that get attached to an enhancement request, that brings it up in their priority list. So unless there is a specific technology limitation that we cannot implement this because of this, if it's not a hard no, they are, I'm going to assume that they are taking it seriously and then are considering it for a future enhancement as well. And sorry, was that Wade? Wade,
Yeah.
if there's if you want to chat about this a little bit more later as well, I'd love to see what it is and get you in touch with the right folks as well. And that same offer to Wade goes to everybody here. If there's anything specific that I didn't cover, or do you want I missed, or if there's any clarification, or if there's another product that you did not hear about from this presentation, let me know. I'll throw in my email on the chat and we can set up a call, and I'd be more than happy to set up another call with everybody here.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I want to just share my screen real quick, because question came up about the new map viewer. Right after this meeting, I'm going to change the default for the main state org to the new map viewer. So sounds pretty radical, and it is. It just means that any new stuff, I'm sorry, hang on, that you create is going to be in, you're automatically going to see the new map viewer. But if you go to your content and you click on a web map, you'll be taken first to the item details page. So by default, it's going to say open in map viewer, but you have this drop down right now. You have this drop down that lets you go back to the classic map viewer. So you have some time to transition. But Q1 2026, the classic map viewer is going to go away totally. So you're only going to have the new map viewer. And just for those of you that haven't seen the new map viewer, it is a very different interface. I mean, it's like going from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro where you have a ribbon bar instead. You know, now you've got your options and your menus on the sides. So all your tools are going to be on the sides. Your different options are going to be on the sides. I do have a class every month for people that are brand new to ArcGIS, that have just gotten an ArcGIS Online account, that steps through this new map viewer. But anybody who's currently a user, and if you're using Map Viewer Classic and you want sort of this introduction to the new map viewer, you're welcome to join that class. Just send me an email, because you're not going to be on my regular invite list. Or if there's enough interest, then I can schedule classes more frequently for people that want to work through this transition. It is a very different interface, but all the functionalities here and then some in the new map viewer. So encourage you to, if you're not already using the new map viewer, go ahead and play around with it a little bit. And if you want some guided instruction, just email me and can include you in a class, a future class. Okay, so with that, thanks again, Allan. I appreciate the talk, and appreciate the kind of a peek at some of the tools that might help people convert from some of the current apps to the newer apps. It's going to be very helpful. And again, if you have questions, please, as Allan said, you can contact them, or you can contact us at the GIS program, gis@hawaii.gov. We'll try and set up, if there's enough interest, a big enough group of people, we'll try and set up something maybe with Esri, or we'll set up some kind of workshop where maybe a bunch of us can get together and transition through some of this stuff. Perfect. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and put those links in the chat, one to our YouTube channel, one to the user survey. If you haven't taken it, please do. And then also, I'm going to put a link to our, we have a news and info hub site that we're trying to build up. It's been there actually for a little while, but we're going to try and build it up a little bit, maybe include some links to some of the resources Allan pointed to on transitioning, helping you transition. And I think that's all I have to say. So are there any other questions? Last chance. Okay, if not, thank you, Allan, and thanks everybody for joining us today.
Mahalo, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.